Okay, quick change in plans here. So in the event that we do have e-learning tomorrow, then just watch this video on section 8.4. It's a really short section. It deals with homeostasis, which is something we have discussed, as well as the levels of organization inside of cells. So it's the final section of chapter 8, and all I want to talk about is how do single cells, organisms, one-celled creatures maintain homeostasis, and how do multicellular organisms maintain homeostasis. So for unicellular, there's actually 4 ways that a single-celled organism can maintain homeostasis. Grow, respond to their environment, transform energy, and reproduce. It can do all of these things inside that one cell. Now, this includes prokaryotes, because prokaryotes are all unicellular, but it also includes some eukaryotes. So there are some eukaryotes, like cells that have a nucleus. They are one-celled organisms that fall underneath this umbrella. How do multicellular organisms maintain homeostasis? Well, the cells that make up a multicellular organism like ourselves, they can't live on their own. You can't take the skin cell like from your arm. It's not going to be able to live on its own. It has to work together with other cells and different tissues to carry out the functions needed for life. And so in order to do this, it's got to work together, but it also has to communicate and send signals from one cell to another, either within the same group of cells, like with other skin cells, or maybe to like a blood cell. Okay. So there are 2 ways multicellular organisms maintain homeostasis, and the first way is through cell specialization. This is the process of where cells can become different types of cells, because let's face it, at one point you were all just one cell. Okay, egg, sperm met, produced a zygote, a one-celled organism that went through mitosis, several rounds, to make you. But those cells specialized. They became different cell types. We have over 100 different cell types inside of us. And each of those cell types play a different role in the organism. Some, transport nutrients. Some move oxygen. Some move carbon dioxide. Some help digest foods. Some, send signals from one part of your body to another. So they all play different roles inside of us. But no matter what that role is, it is specialized and it contributes to maintaining homeostasis. Now, I guess I should go back and say, what is homeostasis? Well, homeostasis is maintaining internal conditions that are the same. So like maintaining that body temperature of 98 point whatever 6 degrees Fahrenheit, or maintaining blood sugar levels. So that's homeostasis. Now with cell specialization, we do have levels of organization, and this is listing from smallest to largest. So cells, the basic unit of life. But if you get a bunch of the same cells together, you have created a tissue. And if you've created, or if you have different types of tissues working together, then you have produced an organ. And when you get a bunch of organs working together, now you have an organ system. And then finally, several different organ systems working together, you get an organism. So if we take a look at this diagram, and I'll just kind of go through real quick here, looking at, I'm more familiar with animals. Okay, so here we have a cell, and groups of the same cells together are tissues, and different tissues working together are organs. We have muscle tissue, we have nervous tissue, we have connective tissue, all working together. Here, epithelial tissue. But then when you have several different organs working together, like the heart and blood vessels and arteries, veins, all of that, now you have an organ system. And then our body has well over 10 different organ systems. I think it's like 11 or 12. Circulatory system, muscular system, skeletal system, digestive system, nervous system, lymphatic system. All of those organ systems are working together to carry out specific jobs. You get that organism. Now on the plant side, here we have plant cell, different tissues, ground, dermal, vascular. They make up that organ. Yes, a leaf is an organ, but then when you have leaf, stem, roots, then you get your organ systems, and finally that organism. Okay, so Multicellular organisms maintain homeostasis through cell specialization and, number 2, cellular communication. So cells do send chemical signals. They are transmitted across the cell membrane, and in order for cells to receive signals, they need a receptor. So this receptor detects the signal, and then it's going to perform an action or a response. Now, receptors are very specific. It's only going to recognize a certain molecule called a ligand. So when a ligand docks or pairs up or binds to a receptor, a change occurs, either in the shape of that complex or it starts a chain reaction. So I kind of have a video here talking about signal transduction.
Sent by one cell is processed and converted into a response by a series of steps known as signal transduction. Signaling molecules bind to specific receptors within the membrane. The signaling molecule bound to the receptor causes the release of a second messenger molecule into the cytoplasm. The signal is relayed through a series of molecules by chemical or conformational changes. In one type of signal transduction, the transfer of a phosphate molecule relays the signal. A cascade of phosphorylations can amplify the original signal. Eventually, the signal is converted into a response, such as activation of an enzyme within the cytoplasm or activation of a transcription factor. If a transcription factor is activated, it enters the nucleus and binds to DNA. A change in gene expression is one possible outcome of signal.
Okay, so really I just wanted to focus on
Signal is relayed through a series of molecules by
how the signal, they're just passing it on. And so here this phosphate molecule is going to bind to this, and then it's going to initiate another chain reaction. And in this case, it's going to turn on a gene inside the nucleus. So that's just one of the many examples for signal transduction. All right. Finally, there are two major types of receptors present in cells. And the first one's called intracellular receptor, which means it's found within inside the cell. Hormones, that are released by your glands, look for target cells. So if this is my hormone, hormone is it's nonpolar, it's lipid. It can easily kind of go through a cell membrane here, but it's going to find a receptor within, hence the term intracellular receptor. And then it binds and initiates that cascade chain reaction result. A membrane receptor means it's found on the membrane. And so here's my cell membrane, and here's just another protein, whatever that is, but this is a receptor, and this is that ligand, and it's going to fit nicely, and then it's going to initiate that chain reaction. So that does it for 8.4. Homeostasis, maintain in internal conditions. We talked about how single-celled organisms maintain homeostasis. There were 4 that you wrote down for your notes or listed in your notes, and then how multicellular organisms work together to maintain homeostasis, and they do that through 2 ways, the cell specialization and the cell communication.